everything just changed in the Chicago Bulls situation, as after a huge free agency update, we are now seeing Josh Giddey's situation be completely different in regards to his free agency, and now the Bulls should be genuinely concerned about losing Josh Giddey more than ever, as we're seeing a huge update to multiple restricted free agents. And obviously with the Bulls also being linked to Jonathan Kuminga, this will have some massive implications on the Bulls as a whole, and we're going to dive into all of this, the situation that's happened, and why it now seems as if Josh Giddey leaving the Bulls sooner rather than later has become a lot more likely. And we're going to jump right into that, guys, but before we do that, if you're part of that 73% that's not subscribed to Bulls Digest, make sure to subscribe for daily Chicago Bulls updates. We got a lot of great videos coming at you every single day that you do not want to miss out on. We're having a bunch of fun on this channel, but with all that being said, let's jump into it. There's a lot to go over on the Chicago Bulls right now. Look, there was recently a huge update in the free agent market that completely implicates Josh Giddey now more than ever. Now, diving right in and looking at what that is, it was announced by Shams Charania that restricted free agent Cam Thomas is signing a one-year, $6 million qualifying offer to return to the Brooklyn Nets. Sides were unable to reach a new deal, so the qualifying offer gives Cam Thomas a full no-trade clause in 2026 and unrestricted free agency next year with 10 plus cap space teams, meaning Thomas now has a chance to wait a year, play more basketball than he did, as he only appeared in 20 some odd games last season, and really show up and show why he deserves to get paid by somebody. Thomas last year put up good scoring numbers. He always is able to do that. He put up 24 points per game, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists. He only shot 44% from the field though and 35% from 3. His role is questionable. People have wondered if he's more of a sixth man or if he's someone who could actually be one of the better scorers on a championship contender. That's the big question about the soon-to-be 24-year-old guard, who is a pretty much a pure shooting guard in a lot of the way. He can play the point guard role, don't get me wrong, but he really is one of those shot-creating offensive two guards. That sounded like I just mentioned a 2K26 archetype. That's not my goal right there, but maybe I've been playing too much 2K. I will at some point leave my my gamer tag in the description if you ever want to play 2K with me and watch how really horrific I am at that game, because I'm not just making it up, I'm terrible. But that's not the point of this. The point of this is, how does this implicate Josh Giddey? Well, in a lot of ways. As we know, Josh Giddey is one of the restricted free agents. Now there's 3 left. Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kuminga, and Quentin Grimes. Giddey is the one who's expected to get the most money because he's the best player out of all 4 of those guys. But now, with this happening, we are now seeing the real world where Josh Giddey is looking at that qualifying offer and understanding, all right, well, the first domino fell. Now I could really threaten that qualifying offer and tell the Bulls, yeah, since I'm taking this qualifying offer and you didn't want to pay me, I fully intend on leaving the team next year. So you're going to get absolutely nothing for me. I'm going to inform everyone that I'm leaving the team, so I'm going to tank my trade value. And just now, or your other option is you pay me $30 million. So that's where things get really interesting now. Because if I'm Arturas Karnisovas, I'm sweating a little bit. I really am. Because if AK screws this up, there's only one thing that happens next. He gets fired. I mean, if you botch this after everything that Josh Giddey's been able to do in that second half of the season, when he really started to get, like, the ball and when he performed incredibly well, it really becomes difficult to navigate why you wouldn't fire AK. Now, as mentioned by Shams, the Nets made the following offers to Cam Thomas. 2 years, $30 million, with that second year being a team option. 1 year, $9.5 million, where he could be traded, and now he took that 1 year, $6 million qualifying offer, where he's got a no-trade clause and can decide his future and where he wants to go if the Brooklyn Nets evidently don't believe that he'll resign, so they could try to trade him. However, let's just pick a random team out of a hat. First team I thought of is, like, the New Orleans Pelicans. Doesn't make any sense to trade Cam Thomas there. They popped into my head randomly. Look, if they wanted to do that trade, but Cam didn't want to go to the Pelicans or something like that, you could just say no. You could be like, nah, I'm not doing that. I don't want to be traded there. So no trade clauses work. The player's in full control. So now Cam Thomas is in control of his own destiny. He's going to hit free agency next year. There's going to be 10 teams with cap space, and there's going to be some teams that don't get their first or second option out there and then decide, well, Cam Thomas is a good scorer. We could bring him in. He could help. And all of a sudden, boom, Cam Thomas is getting the money that he thinks he deserves. And the same thing will happen with Josh Giddey. Don't get it twisted, because it definitely will. And Jonathan Kuminga is also leaning towards signing a 1 year, $8 million qualifying offer with the Golden State Warriors. For anyone wondering why it's different, just real quick, little heads up. In case you don't know, if you do, disregard, but basically, Jonathan Kuminga got drafted earlier, so he gets a little bit more. Josh Giddey got drafted a pick before Kuminga, so he gets a little bit more than Kuminga does. Just so I could explain how it works. I don't want anyone to wonder why, and then I don't know. I don't want people to have, if you didn't know why, it's fine. People are so weird about ball knowledge sometimes. I don't want to I don't want people to like I don't want people to lose track effectively. My mom watches these videos. I need to explain it for her. But look, when it comes to Josh Giddey specifically, once the All-Star break ended, he put up 21 points per game with 11 rebounds per game and 9 assists. He shot 50% from the field and 45.7% from three with 81% from the free throw line. Josh Giddey was not just looking like an all-star, he was looking like an all-star starter. The man was phenomenal in every sense of the word, and in those 19 games, we saw a guy who really is the franchise player for the Bulls. I mean, no one else is. No one else lays claim to that role at all now that Lavine's gone, so it's Josh Giddey, and whether you like it or not, you want to keep him around. You really, really do at this point. It makes no sense to not do that. I mean, look, as Dan Favell mentioned about Josh Giddey, the Bulls appear to believe that they hold all the leverage with Giddey, offering a contract thought to be in the $80 million range over 4 seasons. The team seems to think that's too much for him to reject to take a 1-year, $11.1 million qualifying offer. The 22-year-old could risk a 1-year qualifying offer and hope for a breakout season, but history suggests such gambles rarely pay the desired dividends in the NBA. The stalemate may resolve soon, but it's challenging to see Giddey landing anywhere else this coming season outside of Chicago. And his prediction is if Giddey can get the Bulls to make the 4th-year player option, he should take the deal on the table. Chicago may not be willing, and that may still be the best choice that Giddey can make. Or, like Cam Thomas and Jonathan Kuminga, he could not do that, as that's now a real situation. Now, for the whole season, Giddey's numbers don't look as good, and they don't look like they're worth the $30 million he's asking for. That's the situation at hand. Because what if he was just playing well, and then he reverts back to numbers that are around this? But he got better and better as the year went along, which makes me feel like that's unlikely. He's still 22 years old. He'll be 23 by the start of the season. He's very young. He put up 14.6 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. He was very, very good, shooting 38% from 3 and 46% from the field. He put up good numbers. He's continually improving, and he's younger. I'd happily give him $100 million over 4 years. If he wants, I know he wants 30, but you just compromise in that $25 million range. It's a good deal for everyone involved. He doesn't have to risk injury or something like that with the qualifying offer. He also gets a long-term deal with the Bulls for still very, very good money. So that's what I would do personally. And then when we look at a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, who put up 15 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, 2 assists, he wants more money as well, but is likely going to take that qualifying offer and become a free agent as well next season so he could leave the Golden State Warriors where he wants to leave. He's a similar age to Giddey, about to be 23 by the time the season starts. And with all that in mind, he is someone who definitely could show a lot more potential, but at the same time, with that qualifying offer, things become a lot more complicated because now the team knows that he's not really interested in being there, which also causes more ripples. Quentin Grimes, on the other hand, is a very interesting player because Grimes has bounced around a lot throughout his NBA career, starting with the Knicks, then going to the Pistons, then the Mavericks, then the 76ers, despite being pretty effective everywhere except for Detroit. And with Grimes specifically and everything that and how all this has worked out, we see a guy who put up 14.5 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. He plays excellent perimeter defense, shot 47% from the field, 38% from 3, and 49% on corner threes. Now, his best basketball came when he was a member of the 76ers, and maybe that was because there was a lack of cooks in the kitchen. I mean, Embiid was out, Paul George was out, so Quentin Grimes had a lot of opportunities to ball out and get these touches that he might not get later on. And he wants to be paid like the guy who was getting those touches with Philly, putting up over 20 points per game. But Philly doesn't want to pay him like that because they understand about bad contracts, considering they've signed both Paul George and Tobias Harris over the last decade. Or they'll have one of them on a bad contract for a whole decade. So they don't want to pay people. However, the Bulls, they can pay Josh Giddey, and they should, because if you lose Josh Giddey, then Arturas Karnisovas is an absolute imbecile, and he's also screwed the Bulls once again. So you got to pay Giddey because now the fact that players are taking these QOs, it's time to find a compromise in that $25 million range. It's worth it too. It makes sense to go out there and do that. It's not a bad deal for anyone involved. I think it's a fair number for Josh Giddey is $25 million. But we're going to see really how this all continues to play out. I mean, we look at how Dyson Daniels said he's playing the waiting game, but he deserves to be paid in regards to Giddey. And when we look at the Bulls, again, there's really no franchise player there. Kobe White's going to get traded this season, or he's just going to leave in free agency. Nikola Vucevic is going to get traded this season or bought out. Kevin Huerter is going to get moved. Also, he's not a franchise player. I don't know why I just started mentioning Kevin Huerter like that. No offense to Kevin Huerter, he's just not. So really, there is no franchise player unless it's Buzelis, and, well, I think it's Giddey. So they got to re-sign Giddey. There's no way around it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. I will catch you all later. Thank you for watching as always.